Hello everyone and welcome back finally to Hitting the Field on Hitting the Field Network. Last week UCF canceled classes because of Hurricane Ian, which, by the way, on a serious note, very much impacted Florida, specifically Southwest Florida. So if you'd like to donate, you can find a link in our description on YouTube. With all that being said, we are more than glad to be back and we've got a great show for you today. Starting off, we'll be talking MLB playoffs and the Wild Card Series. Then I'll have a few friends on to talk about how our NFL teams are doing so far. As the saying goes, Broncos country, let's cry. Finally, I'm going to take you back in time to talk about what in the world actually happened to Tua and what my thoughts are on the situation. I'm your host, Hannah Jo Groves. Today is Monday, October 10th, 2022, and Hitting the Field starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Well, we're back. To start things off today, we're talking Major League Baseball with our friend of the show and baseball expert, Nate Marrero, and HTFN's nighttime co-host, Camden Mowery. Camden, I was on your show earlier this semester. It was an honor. I'm so glad to have you on. I was talking soccer and volleyball. How do you feel to be on my show this time around?
Well, it definitely feels a little bit different. It was an honor before, but now I guess I'm good enough to go on your show. But now you don't show up for any of my shows anymore. But that's okay. I'm happy to be on.
That is a topic for a different day. I am very fortunate to have an internship. Otherwise, I would definitely be there, Camden.
I'm sure.
Anyway, we get to talk the Wild Card Series. Now, Nate, overall thoughts, just kind of like all over now, ended last night. What were your key takeaways?
It's very different. Like they switched the format, to 3 games. It moves it's very quick in just 3 days. And what's interesting is we have 3 division matchups now in the DS. Like these teams have played each other 19 times in the regular season, and now they might play 5 more times to see who moves on to the championship series. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out.
For sure. Well, so what I'm thinking, guys, is we'll kind of go through the games that we saw, recap them a little bit, and then give some of our predictions for what we might see as we kind of get going towards playoffs and then the World Series, which is coming right around the corner, guys.
It'll be here quick.
Very quick. So first off, we had Rays versus the Guardians. So now this is your team, Camden. Tell us a little bit about how the Guardians did.
Well, I'll tell you, the Rays are like an ex-girlfriend. She's broke, I'm up. All y'all hated on the Rays, that's right. Or all y'all hated on the Guardians, let's go. Swept them. I cannot wait for this game against the Yankees. Ooh, let's go Guardians. Jose Ramirez is that dude.
Well, yeah, so talk to us a little bit about Ramirez. What did you see from him?
He does everything for them. He had 127 RBIs in the regular season. And the 2-run homer in Game 1 that won the game for them.
Right.
And then in Game 2, in the 14th inning, he made the beautiful backhanded play, going the other way, throws it to first base, gets the out, and that keeps it a scoreless tie in the 14th inning. They wouldn't be where they are without him.
Definitely. It's 14 innings, Camden.
That was a lot of innings to
Well,
play.
what does that say about the endurance?
Well, I'll tell you, the pitching was amazing, okay? I'll tell you, for the entire series, they only gave up, 1 run?
One
right?
run,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. If they lose that game, I'm letting you know right now, they're probably not winning the next day, all right? They're a team that I thought would probably be a first-round exit, and to my surprise, won Game 1, and then in Game 2, that definitely shortened the rotation for the Rays. So it was very impressive to win that game in 14 innings, because if they don't win, I think they lose the next game.
And that's kind of what you were saying.
Well, yeah, just because they use a lot of some of their best bullpen arms. I'm forgetting his name, but the last reliever, he went 3 innings. He wasn't going to be able to pitch the next day.
Right.
So and just the momentum to go at home, 15 innings and to not win, that would have been a tough blow. And all the momentum would have been on the Rays' side for Game 3.
Absolutely. Well, the Guardians came out with it, and we will talk about what we think might happen with the Yankees, but the next game was the Mariners versus the Blue Jays. Now, Camden didn't know what a Mariner was. We had to kind of explain.
I thought it was a dolphin.
The Seattle Dolphins. That's okay. Anyway, Mariners jumped out, early lead in Game 1. Was this performance what you expected from them?
It's why you trade for Luis Castillo. The Mariners traded 3 of their 3 of their top 5 prospects for him. And then they gave him a 5-year extension, and then he goes and he pitches 7+ innings and holds them to no runs. I mean, he lived up to everything they gave him.
Yeah, definitely. And then in Game 2, we saw the Mariners come back from an 8-1 deficit. So that's the first time that's happened in a playoff series in 21 years. Is this team showing that they can really, prove themselves in the playoffs, or do you think that's kind of a one-time deal?
I don't know. I honestly was rooting for the Blue Jays. I don't know. I just think Blue Jay is funnier to root for. Cool animal. But no, yeah, they're going to play the Astros next. What are they? The second best team in baseball right now. The Astros are really good. I believe they have the lowest ERA out of anyone in the American League, and it's going to be tough to get runs against that team. I mean, Justin Verlander is playing out of his mind this year so far, and I think especially in the postseason he's going to tighten up a little bit, and we're going to get some more of these lower scoring games, and it's going to be tough to beat the Astros.
And for and that's why you don't let a team hang around. They're down 8-1. Then the Carlos Santana 3-run homer. And that play where Bo Bichette collided into George Springer, that really, you could just feel the air come out of the stadium. And that was really the turning point. And then the Mariners take the lead in the 9th inning, and that was that.
Fun fact, Bo Bichette and I went to school together.
Stop.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
we
way.
went to the
Crazy.
same elementary and middle school. We did. And also, I know his brother Dante. Anyway, I'm famous. That's what
yeah,
I'm
pretty
saying.
much.
We know.
I also know Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, I saw him
So-
pitch against my high school.
I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, I'm just trying to emphasize to you how cool I am
Right.
in comparison to you.
Okay.
Anyway,
You're all right.
the
right.
game that I was kind of sad about, because we had talked with Johnny and Austin about the potential of the Mets going against the Dodgers.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
The Mets are the Mets, as Derek Jeter
Oh,
said.
well, and Kayla Lewis was completely right. I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, so tell us about their pitching situation.
So, I mean, when you have Max Scherzer and Jake DeGrom in
Mm-hmm.
a 3-game series, you think, oh, it's a wrap. And then Scherzer shows he's getting paid $43 million for no reason. He
no
gives up
reason.
6 runs, 4 homers. And then in Game 3, they put more effort into making sure Joe Musgrove didn't have any sticky substances on him than they were at the plate.
Yes, and I want you to pause right there, because you were starting to talk to me about this, and this isn't something that I've seen before. We were kind of saying that this substance check happens not super frequently.
When a manager usually doesn't call for it, usually after the first inning, umpires will check, because there was an issue last year with spider tack, pine tar, and all that stuff.
Well, and I was asking you, what is the advantage of, so basically what a player would do is put something either on their ears or somewhere in where they can.
Sometimes they could put it on their neck, sometimes they could put it in their hat.
And what advantage does that give them?
Well, because Joe Musgrove, his velocity and his spin rate was up, and I mean, along with the Mets' struggles, they wanted to check him, and I think it was also gamesmanship by Buck Showalter. He wanted to get in Joe Musgrove's head, get him out of a groove, and just because his numbers were, his velocity, his spin rate was up, and the Mets only had 1 hit until that point, and they finished the game with 1 hit. So it was more of an attempt to get him out of his groove, and newsflash, it did not work.
Well, yeah, and so what does that say about this Padres team, that kind of thing doesn't faze them?
I was shocked, honestly, that they won that game. Yeah, Padres surprised me. I definitely thought the Mets were going to win because how high Austin Walker was talking about them. But as we saw, nope, they down. I called him last night. I want you to know this. And I said, hey, man, did you get home all right? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, the Mets didn't. And I just hung up. That was the only call with him.
Camden is really showing the quality of friend he is today to
Yep.
you, my sweet audience. I want you to know he really is. He's there for you.
It's going to be even worse when Jake DeGrom goes to the Braves in the offseason.
Oh, I
Kayla
can't wait.
Lewis would really hate to hear that. She did not want him. You really think that's
She
what-
doesn't. Well, that was the rumor during the regular season. I'm just trying to get at Austin and just make him more
Get back
sad.
up.
Poor Austin.
Hannah Jo, in the last week, do you realize that the Mets went from leading their division
Yeah.
to losing it and then
They
losing in
blew
the wild card
2
round?
3-game series. You have a 3-game series against the Braves for first place. You line up your rotation with DeGrom and Scherzer to pitch, and they both lose. They get swept.
But from what I've heard, that's what the Mets do.
Yeah, I mean, that is,
That's the
to be
history
fair,
of the
maybe.
franchise.
They've become the Cowboys of baseball. You get your hopes
Oh.
up, and then they just
See, now
they're
we're
gonna
bringing
let
Alex
you down.
Funderburk into the conversation. This is a lot for me.
You don't want to talk football, all right? I wanted to dress up in a trash can so I could be like Russell Wilson. Yeah, you're rough.
If
You are
Russell
down
Wilson
bad
cooked,
right now.
it'd be the cottage and a pineapple
Cottage
that,
cheese and the
Alexis, that Lexi sent us to our
boy.
This is not the football segment, people. We have one more game to talk about here. Phillies versus Cardinals. Phillies.
Their pitching was lights out. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, they give up no runs in the 2 games. And, I mean, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt were the 2 best players for the Cardinals throughout the season. They combined to go 1 for 15 with 6 strikeouts. That's your best players can't be performing like that.
How did this turn out compared to how you maybe expected it to?
I don't even remember who I took, but I'll tell you, I was definitely pulling for the story, which was Albert Pujols and Yachty, because aren't they both retiring?
Yes.
Or at least
They are.
one, yeah. So that's
And Adam
definitely,
Wainwright might retire too.
it's tough to see him go out, because Pujols, we've been watching him play since like 2001.
Got
Everybody
his
knows Albert
700th
Pujols.
home run,
So
all that.
really wish he would have gotten to go out with a win or at least a deep playoff run, but hey, still a great career nonetheless. So good for Pujols and Yachty.
And it shows how quick things can change. The Cardinals were up 2-0 with 1 out in the top of the ninth. And then they give up 6 runs, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end, not just for that game, but for the series.
Definitely. Well, so let's kind of look forward now. We have got, first off, Guardians going up against the Yankees. Now, I know you want to talk about this. Now, if you don't know, Alex Funderburk, who used to be the host of this show and also a Dallas Cowboys fan, is also a Yankees fan.
And my boss.
And his boss, Camden, is a Guardians fan, and so these two are going head-to-head. What do you think we'll see from this?
Probably 2 losses, 3 in a row. I don't know. Probably get swept. The Yankees, of course, I'm talking about, right? Yeah, let's go Guardians. Guardians up, baby.
Wow.
3-0. You know, Jose Ramirez is that dude, all right?
You actually had me on that for a second.
I'm kidding. I'm so scared. All right, Aaron Judge is about to knock out 3 home runs in the first game. I don't know what to expect. I was shocked by the Rays. I'm not even going to give up my hopes because if you're from Cleveland, you know you don't give up your hopes about the Browns. You don't do it about the Guardians, and you don't do it about the Cavs. All right, so I'm not even going to give up my hopes.
So are you agreeing with this take?
Well, I think the Guardians are built to give the Yankees a really tough time. They're the best pitching staff in baseball. They put the ball in play. They don't really strike out. And, if it comes into a situation where it comes down to their bullpens, there's no one you can trust in the Yankees bullpen to come in and, get 3 outs. It's a crapshoot. So, Aroldis Chapman's not going to be on the roster. Not that he was pitching that good to begin with.
Right.
But, if it gets to a point where it comes to a battle of the bullpens, the Guardians can give the Yankees some problems.
I like you. You lie a lot.
I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Okay, so let's go to pick one more game for me that you want to say really quick.
Let's
Who you
go
think is
to
going to win?
the Braves and Phillies.
Braves and Phillies.
Okay.
Who you got?
I think the Phillies can give the Braves a tough time, but the Braves are on a roll. They had to play throughout the regular season to win the division, so it's not like they're going to be that rusty or anything like that. And I think it'll be close. Division matchups are always weird in the playoffs, but I think Braves pull out in 4.
I've honestly watched more Braves baseball than Guardians baseball due to
Oh.
Kayla Lewis talking her head off
Kayla
about the
Lewis.
Braves back there. She's actually made me turn on a Braves game and watch what baseball
Good
is.
for her.
So they're actually pretty good. I've watched them
Yeah.
play. They're decent. I think they're going to win. You said Braves in 4? Mm-hmm. I think that sounds about right. Probably give up 1 game, Braves in 4.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for now to talk MLB, but I'm sure we'll be giving you more baseball content as playoffs continue and we get closer to the World Series. When we come back, I'll have Grant and Kelly on to assess our NFL teams, and things might get emotional. Stay with us.
To HCF Hot Takes. I'm Johnny Jackson. We've got Emily Aaron to my right and Maluka Costa to my left.
Hello and welcome to our segment of Hot Ones. I'm here with Noah Kemper and Grant
Wheeler.
Yep, I knew that. Grant Wheeler.
Listen, I'm a Bulls fan, but I just can't ever argue against LeBron. I watched him my whole life.
I've been going back and forth with this debate for a long time. It's got to be Michael Jordan.
Whatever she wanted. I would wake up in a maid costume for Doja Cat.
Brutal.
Jeffrey Laux, no question.
Richie, I would give it to Richie.
It is not Richie. It is not Richie.
No, it's Jeff.
Richie's pronouns are he, they, because he cannot be him.
What?
Oh, wait a second.
I'm gonna have to also agree and say Jeff. He always is spiffy.
It might be Cameron. Cameron's had some good fits.
Out of the women, Norelli always dresses really, really cute.
Brother. That went so awful.
It's basketball.
College football, I think, is the best sport to watch.
If you don't like soccer, it's because you suck at it.
I think college football is the best.
Thanks for watching.
And we're back. I've got a few of my close friends here for a therapy session about our favorite NFL teams and how they're doing so far. Now, Kellie Campbell here is a Carolina Panthers fan, and Grant Wheeler is an Indianapolis Colts fan, and he has been for a while. He has a jersey he got when he was 5 years old that he still wears from time to time.
13.
Grant, Kelly, how are we feeling today, guys?
Man,
That's right.
I'm feeling rough. Thursday night was pretty rough, to say the least.
I think that was the most boring game of football
it
I've
was
ever watched in my entire
the worst
life.
W a team could ever have.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Imagine losing.
You can.
Yeah.
Me too, though. I mean, we fired Matt Rule today, thank God.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, let's before we get into this, Grant. Not only did we play each other in fantasy this week, which
did.
you are winning also.
By 8. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
But my Broncos played your Colts on Thursday. He and I texted a little bit about it. I believe your exact quote was, "This is like watching paint dry."
And it was.
It was. I'm still getting over all this.
I've had more fun watching paint dry, to
Honestly.
be honest.
And that's fair.
That's a first. I've never heard anyone say that until now. So that's how bad it was.
Paint by number. It's a good time.
Well, people are saying that this is the ugliest game they've ever seen.
Right.
Neither offense could score.
No touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
Turnover after turnover, sack after sack. I mean,
Right.
The Colts O-line, except for Quentin Nelson, didn't show up. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, and both teams would get in the red zone and just.
Well, the Broncos were getting in the red zone. They just kept coughing the ball up.
And
turning
that's
the ball
been
over.
the theme of the entire season. So that's what I want to talk about first. I know that I'm going to talk about my team first. I just need to get it off my chest. I need to process some things with you guys. Grant, something that I've learned is that a lot of penalties is actually indicative of a disorganized front office, specifically head coach. What do you think about Nathaniel Hackett?
I think he's got a lot of work to do. I think he's a big reason for Russell Wilson's struggles. Now, Russell Wilson is exiting his prime. He's definitely a part of the problem. But Nathaniel Hackett does not know how to manage a game. I mean, timing, timeouts. Like, he doesn't know when to use certain, he doesn't know how to, work out certain situations.
Right. And so what do you think about, this kind of dynamic? Russell Wilson might have gotten out of Seattle because he wanted to be more in on the play calls.
Right.
Do you think Russell Wilson is kind of showing us maybe he isn't as good as he thought he might be?
Honestly, I mean, here's the thing. Russell Wilson is a very, very talented quarterback, and you saw that at Seattle, and we're not seeing that at all in Denver. Mm-mm. And with Russell Wilson, he has, this room to be such, a successful, amazing NFL quarterback. And I don't know if that's going to happen at Denver because we look back at the game last Thursday, and we look back at what happened, even in, one of the last plays of the game. I mean, you even saw all the tweets about it. I mean, I'm not enjoying this ride that Russ has invited us on. So.
And it doesn't help that a lot of his weapons are just dropping down like flies. A lot of injuries are happening.
Right.
Your running backs are going down. Melvin Gordon had to go in Thursday night.
I'm still pissed about wide open KJ Hamler.
He was wide open in that final play on 4th and 1. Russell missed him completely.
I'm still mad about him throwing straight to Rodney Thomas.
It was a similar play to Super Bowl 49, except they didn't get picked off.
That's what I'm
got
saying.
Deflected.
That was funny, all the tweets comparing that to Super Bowl 49.
Well, guys, I just feel embarrassed, to be honest with you, because I thought I was so cool for predicting that Russell Wilson would go to the Broncos, which I predicted in January.
You did, on main show.
And so then, all of a sudden, he's not doing at all. But I do want to say, I think if he had a stronger head coach who had been in the position a little longer, maybe things would be different.
Right.
Also, we talked about the surgery that he's had.
He just had it on Friday.
I don't know how much that's impacting it. But let's move to the defensive side, because that wasn't that bad.
The Broncos' defense is good. It's just the offense. They can't put points on the board. Their defense is overall preventing teams from getting into the end zone. I mean, they didn't give up a touchdown Thursday night, but it's the offense right now. If you can't put up points in this league, especially in a passing game, in today's game and age, today's day and age, you're not going to be successful.
Well, this is worse than bottom tier Big Ten football. That is my thing, and that is all defense. But no offense. Mm-hmm. It's looking like Iowa at the beginning of the year. What's going on? What's going on? It's Russell Wilson. He was in Super Bowls.
I know. He was.
An MVP candidate, one of the top quarterbacks in the league for a while. He's not playing like it right now. He's just not.
Right.
It's the bottom line.
Well, okay. Speaking, though, of a strength in our defense, kind of showing what we can do, if I'm focusing on the positive here, you also had a pretty good defense.
We do. The Colts have a good defense and a good special teams. It's just the offense. They can't move the ball right now. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's injured. Naheem Hines, very scary injury.
Yes.
The defense is good, though. I mean, Stephon Gilmore's my player of the game. He forced that game-winning interception, that game-winning deflection. The defense is doing a job in the secondary. They're covering their jobs and their assignments. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. It's just the offense. The offensive line can't
Kellie,
move the ball
let me tell you a fun fact.
Tell me.
The Colts' offensive line is the highest paid in the league.
It is.
They are the worst performing in the league also.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, okay, so everyone knows I'm going to die on this hill.
Yes.
That the football team is going to rely on the success of the offensive and defensive line time and time and time again, it is always going to come down to your line. Because if your quarterback doesn't have any time to make a second to get to one of his weapons or even escape the pocket or do what he needs to do, that line is so important. Grant, how do you feel about all this money just being wasted? All these tickets, that jersey you got when you were in kindergarten, like the money from that is still paying these like the linemen to this day.
I don't know. I'm feeling it's pretty disgusting. I posted on my story after the game again. It's just you're paying millions of dollars. Quentin Nelson's doing his job, but Ryan Kellie, he got injured. He can't stay healthy. I don't even think he's that confident right now. Something's not going right up there in his mind mentally. The tackles are not giving Ryan any protection at all. I mean, Raymond cannot tackle for his life. He's holding on to defenders every single play, getting called for holding left and right. It's unacceptable. It's just not Colts football. You need to go back to the drawing board, Frank.
Well, I mean, like it is recent because it's Colts football.
As of late.
But over the past couple of years, the Colts have had one of the best O-lines in the NFL, and they need to start playing it like it right now, or else it's going to be a long season.
Well, so let's talk about who they're protecting here, because
Matt Ryan.
In a way, Matt Ryan, I feel like, is smart enough to know my line's not good. I need to get a quick release on this ball. But he does not have a deep threat.
No, except for Michael Pittman, that's it.
Well, tell me though about, like, were you excited when he was coming over? What did you think you were going to see from him?
I was excited because anything over Carson Wentz is an upgrade. I mean, Carson Wentz threw a game-losing red zone interception yesterday, by the way. But,
sorry, Johnny.
Yeah, sorry, Johnny Jackson. But no, it's an upgrade. It's just like he's old, though. He's like 37.
Yeah.
He's a bridge QB. The Colts need to go out and get a young QB in the draft. That's why it's like, well, if I want them to be good, but like if they want to get a good QB, they're going to have to lose some games in the long term.
That's like my least favorite thing about the NFL is having to lose games to get good players. Like that I mean, why would you want to? That sucks for your fans, and it's going to be something that happens every year. Oh, we're tanking for this person, we're tanking for that person. It's like, no, you're just tanking because you're bad.
So speaking of losing games, the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
They
are horrible.
We've gotten the breaking news though that Matt Rule has been fired. And before I got that news, which I think was maybe less than an hour ago, I was going to ask you if he belongs back in college.
Well, really, if you look at his record in the NFL, it's 11-27 in the last 2 years. That is bad. I feel like personally, I could do better as an NFL coach.
I would bet on that, actually. Yeah, I would bet on that.
But really, looking back at some of the press conferences yesterday, Christian McCaffrey was really, really frustrated with how people were upset at Matt Rule and not more at the players. So that's the thing that like kind of stumped me, is because the players, they really liked Matt Rule, even though they were like losing, terrible. They're like, well, in practice it's looking different. That's great. You can look as good as you want in practice, but when it comes down to an opponent, if you look the way the Panthers have looked for this time, it's horrible. We're missing field goals. I was looking at the highlights for this game. It was Baker Mayfield making like 6-yard completions. There was nothing there. It was boring. It was like, I understand as a Panthers fan, a few years ago we had Cam Newton and it was amazing. It was butterflies, it was rainbows, and now it's garbage dumpster fire. Like, I didn't even pick a player from this game because it was so frustrating to watch.
I feel bad for Christian McCaffrey.
Finally, he's not injured.
He's not injured, but now the team's not doing well.
Right.
So I feel like if I'm him, I look for a trade.
This is what he said. He's like, I'm one of the leaders on this team. It is my job to make these plays to win this game. Like, players make the plays, players win the game, players lose the game. So like that's where his frustration is coming from, because although I think it does definitely stem from poor leadership and not good enough coaching, I don't know. You have to get these like good coaches in to use these like generational talented players. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is phenomenal, and I feel bad. Like, again, my player of the week was actually Saquon Barkley, who is another.
Oh yeah, we'll get to him. We'll turn to a positive note.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, generational talent.
Yeah.
I just want to see these guys succeed and blossom into who they can become, and that's not going to happen for him here.
Well, and tell me about Matt Rule, your take on it. Was his ceiling in college?
I think it was. I thought he did a good job at Baylor. I was surprised at the NFL job. I'm like, some coaches, they want to take the next challenge and test themselves. I know Nick Saban, he coached the Dolphins back in the day, but the NFL isn't for everyone.
True.
Certain coaches work better at different levels. I think Matt Rule is just more comfortable with the college game.
Something I really wanted to bring up, Matt Rule, so like last year he wasn't good either. And
no, he wasn't.
He used his offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, as the scapegoat. Oh, it's Joe Brady's fault. If you look back at Joe Brady's coaching it is insane. He was on that LSU national championship team. And now he is the quarterback's coach of the Buffalo Bills.
So if
And
you're
we
the
see how
Carolina
that's
Panthers,
going.
maybe you take a look. Look
So
after
how are we going to blame that on Joe Brady when we can look at the success of Josh Allen, the success of the 2019 LSU team? He worked for Penn State, and I miss that all the time.
Yeah.
That was the best our offense has ever looked.
Right.
That's a correlation there.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Penn State, before we run out of time, tell us about Saquon. Tell us
Saquon Barkley.
everything.
It's honestly Saquon Barkley. It's bringing me back to when he was fresh in college. He looks phenomenal. He's having these explosive plays. He's really the only playmaker for the Giants right now.
Yeah.
And it's his last year on the contract too, which is really, really exciting. So we're going to see if the Giants keep him around. Honestly, I don't think they will be able to afford to, just because him and Daniel Jones are coming to an end at the same time. But he has 533 yards this season, which is second leading in the NFL, which is really, really exciting. It's just been great to see him finally kind of get over these hump of injuries and just play to the potential that he's able to play to. Generational talent. I need him with an offensive line to protect him, where he can just go be what he's destined to be, which is like
And if the Giants keep winning games, do you think he could be a front runner for the MVP this year?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think he could be in that conversation. I mean, he did win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year when he first got into the league. And he was just, I feel like, barely dipping his feet in the water. So there's so much room for growth. And just like, as a Penn State fan, like the first time he stepped on that field, September 30th, 2016, I remember the day. I remember
You're a true fan.
Yes.
I love it.
And
Whoa.
I mean, he just had he's averaging 11.7 yards per reception right now.
Per reception.
That's insane.
5.5 yards average per carry. He's almost getting a first down like every 2 runs. So
How nice it must be for you to see him do so well.
100%.
I wish he was on your team.
Maybe the Panthers make a trade for him.
Maybe. Well,
I don't know if I want that.
That's all the
Yeah, I
time
guess
we
the Panthers.
have right now to talk about our NFL teams. I'm sure it won't be the last time you hear us do that. But thank you so much, Kelly and Grant, for coming on with me today. When we come back, I'll tell you my thoughts on what really happened with Tua a couple weeks ago. We'll be right back.
Cowboys versus Giants. Why? Because I am a New York Giants fan and I want my first pick of the week to be my team. I see an upset for the New York Giants this Sunday. Bet your entire savings, and I'm telling you right now, they're gonna win. I don't care what you say. It's gonna happen.
I have to go with the Raiders, I think, for this one. I don't see them losing.
Welcome back. It is now time for our primetime picks of the week, the best segment. I'm currently doing awful, standing at 16-10, Oklahoma State and Texas. I'm going Texas 35-27.
All right, Jeff, don't tell me your winner, but who is going to the Super Bowl?
The New England Patriots.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God.
The
Oh
NFL
my
is
God.
the NFL is gonna make it happen.
And we're back. Now's the rant part of our show, and this week, when I was preparing, my stomach was turning. Now, I wouldn't consider myself a diehard Miami Dolphins fan, but I do like them, and I especially like Tua. I think by me saying that, you kind of know where I'm going with this. 2 weeks ago, Tua fell on the back of his head after passing a ball against the Bills. Honestly, the injury itself didn't look too bad. It was the getting up that made me nauseous. He stumbled slightly while standing up, but when he started walking, he completely lost his footing. And that's an indicator that he is not okay. Even the linemen knew it as they held him up and propped him up. But then Tua tells everyone it's his back, and we believe him for some reason. But we're not at fault for that. You know who is at fault? The doctor who cleared him to play a few days later against the Bengals. Now, I get him wanting to go up against Joe Burrow. It's always fun to see two young quarterbacks go head-to-head, and for that reason, I hoped he was okay. But I quickly saw that he definitely wasn't. In the second quarter, we saw a super similar injury to what we saw against the Bills. He fell down on the back of his head after passing, But this time he didn't stumble because he couldn't even get up. This is the part that I actually had to turn away from. Watching the way that his fingers curled up immediately made me mad at whoever said, yeah, he's fine, before this game started. But I wasn't the only one that felt that way, as the doctor who cleared him for that game was swiftly fired. However, I have a hard time believing that the fault lies solely on the doctor. Now, I completely understand that when something like this happens, you need to show that you're holding someone accountable. But there's no way this doctor wasn't pressured into giving a certain diagnosis and maybe even paid for his discretion. Some people might think that Tua is partly to blame, but he can whine and cry all he wants about wanting to go in. His coaches, team staff, and other team managers need to stand up and say, sorry, Tua, we're not going to risk it. We want you to be able to play for years to come, and a decision like this could put your career in jeopardy. So what's the goal of this rant? That Tua can be an example for teams in the NFL. Because while the NFL itself claims it cares at all about player safety while making teams play not even 4 days apart, it's the teams and their staff that need to stand up for the players. I know they make money off these guys. I know everyone wants to believe them when they say they can play. But when we're considering their longevity and getting to watch them play for years to come, we might have to say no to a game or two. And I sincerely hope that if there's ever a doubt, Tua's name comes up in the conversation, but it might not, because thank God Tua isn't paralyzed. But doesn't it suck that that's what it might take for people to actually take player safety seriously? That's our show for today. We'll be back next week to bring you more Hitting the Field on Hitting the Field Network. Thanks for watching, and on behalf of myself and all of us here at HTFN, have a great week. Peace.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap.